All right, more life and times with George Washington here, and let's take some time to kind of move the focus onto the French, and that's largely because for years now that the alliance has been made between the Americans and the French, that support had been promised with things like money and supplies and soldiers, troops, but the promises don't help win wars. You need to have movement to make sure that that does. And in 1781, the French finally made a decision that really had weight behind it. And that would be that their fleet, their navy, wouldn't just, patrol. It began making a commitment to be engaged against the British. And so the French navy, their ships, began to sail with purpose. The French commanders chose their direction, and for the first time, their plans aligned with Washington's hopes. Now, this wasn't some kind of dramatic, announcement, some kind of grand press conference or something. Things were just put in motion. The ships were changing course. The orders were quietly being issued, and those signals were being sent across the Atlantic from Europe into the New World. And Washington was paying close attention to all this because this wasn't something that he could just out and out control, because French priorities were French priorities. And those things could shift at any moment in time. And if the French, wanted to, they could choose a different target. They could, put their focus back on Europe, maybe patrol the English Channel or La Manche, depending on how you want to look at it. They could, have a different objective. And if the French did, then the opportunity that the Americans were looking for, Washington was looking for, could vanish. And so Washington waited, being patient again, or still, however you want to look at it. But this time the waiting felt different, because it wasn't just about surviving the moment. This was about putting things in place. It was about aligning things. And for once, events beyond Washington's command were moving in a direction that he could actually use. The French weren't reacting anymore. They were being proactive. And that changed everything, because the commitment of the French allies, it didn't just add strength to the cause. It actually helped force decisions. And when the French made their move, Washington realized that this long war was finally narrowing toward a moment where, all this patience that's been practiced might give way to action that would benefit the cause. And all he had to do was make sure he made the correct decisions.